side that you don't know. I can't wait to get you all alone. Once I'm in, there ain't no letting go. My mind games until you lose control. You already know who it is. My name is Sick Kick. Welcome to Sick Mix Part 9. Let's get it.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? I repeat, will the real Slim Shady please stand up? We're gonna have a problem here. Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. We're gonna have a problem here. The Slim Shady is not the real Shady. All you the Slim Shady that just never taken. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up, please stand up. The Slim Shady is not the real Shady. All you the Slim Shady that just never taken. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up, please stand up.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, traders? What's going on? Welcome back and happy Money Tuesday. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to see what the market has in store for us today and ready to work with you guys, ready to take some amazing trades and ready to lock in some profits. So before we dive into the pre-market rundown, go ahead and hit me with a big old alpha day trading. Good morning and happy Money Tuesday. Who do we got inside of chat this morning? And if you guys are over on YouTube, hit me with a big old good morning as well. And then drop your location. Where are you guys tuning in from right now? Hello from sunny Florida. It's sunny, but it's also 50 degrees outside. That's why I got my nice, comfy little sweater on. Because it's freaking cold outside. So yeah, you won't see me going outside today. But good morning. Where are you guys tuning in from? Welcome to the pre-market rundown over on YouTube, where we take this time to get you guys prepared for the day with my exact game plans and trade plans and all that good stuff. So you guys can come in strategically and confidently and play some good trades, make some money. Everybody inside the chat, what's up? You got April, AJ, Cole, William, Mr. Zuck, Trader, Adam. What's up, brother? Steve, Chris T, Stir. You guys have been holding it down this morning. Early birds getting the worm. Christy Q, Corey, good morning, everybody. Craig S has been in chat. Kevin, what's up, brother? Joey, good morning. Jonathan, my goodness, you guys were in here early, holding it down. You guys are ready to rock and roll. Look at the Sizzler bringing the heat. Look at the Sizzler breaking the heat right now. Good morning. My fiance mimics your good mornings. It's so funny with the big old good morning. I got to get you guys hyped up. Share some of this energy with you. It's not the Celsius, it's all natural, baby. So I want to just give you guys some of this energy. Get you guys hyped up. Get you guys ready and motivated, ready to rock and roll and crush this day, guys. So we're going to dive right into it and not waste any time. Again, the pre-market rundown starts right now. But hold on, let me back up a little bit. I got to say good morning to all the beautiful men and women over on YouTube. So we got Joshua P., Coffee, what's up? Jason, good morning. Patience Pays, Flying Soul, K-Do's Corner, ALPBK, Brent, E. Tom, what's up, brother? S. Drake, good morning, everybody over on YouTube right now. If you guys enjoy these sessions, definitely like the stream. That really means a lot. And if you have yet to do so, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Again, we put these sessions together every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. until 9:30, the pre-market rundown. Again, getting you guys prepared for the day with my exact game plan for the day. How I'm looking to come into the market, how am I looking to make money, okay? And so I'm going to share everything with you guys, everything you need to know to come in confidently, strategically, and put the odds in your favor of success. So let's dive into it. We always start with the economic calendar. What do we need to be mindful of today? What is going on? Well, we just had retail sales data month over month drop at 8:30. We'll take a peek at that here in a second. But what else do we have coming on up today that you guys need to be extremely mindful of as far as times? So before market, you do have industrial production month over month and industrial production year over year data dropping at 9:15. So that's before market, which is going to be okay. But what's coming after market open? Do we have anything that we have to be super mindful of? Well, you do have some medium importance data, okay? So things to be mindful of, but not the type of data where you need to completely flatten a position. For example, like jolts, high importance data at 10 a.m., you best have a stop loss in the system, right? Or have your trade flattened completely because that's data that's going to really move the market, right? You know, data that's of medium importance can move the market, but it's usually nothing that really drastically moves the market like we see CPI, PPI, Fed's interest rate decision, JOLTS data a couple weeks ago. But again, after market open, you do have business inventories, month over month data dropping here at 10 a.m., followed by Fed Barkin speaking at 10:45. And then you do have your monthly budget statement here at 2 p.m., which we won't even be in the market at that point in time. So only a couple things that you guys need to be mindful of. 9:20 before the market opens, you have Fed Bowman speaking. 10 a.m., 30 minutes after the market opens, you do have business inventories month over month. And then here right around 10:45, you do have Fed Barkin speaking as well. So those are those timestamps, right? Those are those times to be mindful of. And what do I usually recommend? What do I always recommend you guys do? Just to be mindful and not forget these times. Grab yourself a line tool and just go timestamp your charts with like blue lines, gray lines. And so what do these lines represent? Right? That represents, hey, we have economic data dropping. There's something that's going to take place at this time to where I need to be super mindful if I'm in a position. Finger on the trigger, stop in the system, depending on the type of data it is, maybe I should flatten my position. It really just keeps those times front and center in my awareness just so I don't forget them, right? There's so many things happening in the markets in the moment when we're looking to place trades. You're not always looking at the clock, right? You're looking at the stock, how it's moving, looking to get an entry. Sometimes you forget that, hey, we have data at 10 o'clock. Maybe you realize, hey, we have data at 10 o'clock, but by the time the market opens and everything starts, coming together for you and you're starting to look to take some trades, then, hey, sometimes you forget. So don't forget. Mark your charts up, have those timestamps, and be mindful of what we have going on each and every day, okay? So again, nothing too crazy today, guys. Nothing of super, super high importance, but we do have a lot more data coming this week. We do have earnings season really kicking on off tonight, guys. So we do have AMD earnings tonight. We got Microsoft. We got Starbucks tonight. Then we do have more earnings kicking on off tomorrow and Thursday as well. So Wednesday after the close, we have Apple, Tesla, and Facebook reporting. So earnings season's here. I love earnings season. We get a lot of volatility in the market, tons of movement, tons of opportunity. So super excited to see what we have in store, towards the end of this week when we see a lot of these companies reporting their earnings. But for today, pretty much in the clear, guys, for the most part. So let's just take a deep dive into the technicals, right? Let's get an idea of where we can see the SPY go today. And I always like to start with the SPY, go into the Qs, then we transition to my top option plays for today, and then my top penny stock plays for today. So what do we got going on with the SPY? What can we expect to see? It's another day like yesterday. Yesterday we came in and we were kind of right in the middle between support resistance in the zone of uncertainty. And I'm like, I'm not really digging the movement of the SPY. Don't really like what we're seeing, right? We're just right in the middle of key support, key resistance. We have to really sit back at the start of the day and wait. I didn't trade the SPY yesterday whatsoever because I didn't like how the SPY was moving, wasn't a fan of the market conditions, wasn't a fan of price action, so I completely held off on the SPY altogether. And today kind of feels the same way. It's like I don't really like where we're at. We're right in the middle of a key zone of resistance and key support. We're just kind of chilling right here in the middle. And yesterday, for the first 30 to 40 minutes, all we did on the SPY was chop sideways at the start of the day. There was literally no trade on the SPY. It took until nearly 11:30 before we saw the first decent setup to the short side off that daily zone of resistance. But that was literally after I walked away for the day and I shut down because I don't trade after 11:30. So it took a long time for the SPY to really get to one of my zones, one of my levels, and set up. And looking back at it in hindsight, it wasn't even that big of a drop, right? It fell maybe, $1 to the downside, and then we just chopped the rest of the day. Yesterday's market conditions and yesterday's price action was really subpar, especially with the SPY. It was definitely challenging to find any opportunity. And I'm hoping that's not the case today, but right now, based on this movement in pre-market, and just based on the location of the SPY, in comparison to where we have some key overhead resistance and key lower support, I'm just not really digging what we see right now. So do I want to come in and just get super aggressive at the start of the day? No. Do I see any reasoning right now, this moment, to come in and take trades right when the market opens on the SPY? I don't. Okay, so what am I looking to do today? Be very patient, right? It pays to be patient. Okay, so I'm going to sit back on my hands and wait for the market to come to me and really set up. And on top of that, we have a couple large cap plays that look good today compared to the SPY. So you may see me more or less focused on Tesla, Amazon, AMD, as we have some really, really good opportunity with those stocks, which we'll dive into here in a moment. So again, right now, I'm really just hands off on the SPY to start the day and waiting to see what the market does, how the market moves, where are we going next? Are we going to fade and fall into this lower zone of support between 431.13 and 431.49? Well, I just have to wait for that to take place. Or are we going to open and push on up into resistance, right? And then top out and roll on over. Again, I have no idea. I need to sit back and wait to see what takes place. But again, very, very similar movement here in pre-market this morning like we saw yesterday morning. And right now, it looks like we may be opening right in the middle of these two key zones. So I'm going to give you guys the zones, but just really let you guys know I have no intention on taking any trade right at the start of the day. I don't even have a trade plan in place just based on where we're at. I don't see anything for me to even build a plan around a hypothetical trade. So I'll give you guys the zones, and then we'll see what happens after market open. If it starts to set up and we have opportunity, then inside of chat, we'll attack it, right? We'll hit it hard. We'll go from there. Key overhead resistance on the SPY is between 436.46 and 437.22. Okay, that is going to be your first key overhead zone of resistance. All right, coming on down to your key lower zone of support. That's going to be between 431.13 and 431.49 here on the SPY. All right, there is another lower zone of support. Okay, and I'm going to give that to you as well because if we do see the SPY just completely tank today, fall below that zone, and we're looking to take puts for the next leg down, how much lower could we see the SPY go? Well, the next lower zone of support that I have here for the SPY is going to be down between 429.60 and 429.89. And I'm also going to give you the next overhead zone of resistance, right? Because we could see the SPY open and push today above that overhead zone of resistance. And if we see the SPY holding above that zone as intraday support, then we could see one more leg to the upside. And this would be a daily gap fill. So this zone up here that I'm getting ready to give you guys is a daily gap fill level. All right, so that zone is between 438.43 and 438.62. And like I said, that would be coming in and closing that daily gap here on the SPY. So there's definitely potential, right? We could see the SPY up in the 438s, right? We could see the SPY down in the low 430s. I just don't really have anything that validates and gives me confidence in one direction over the other, right? It's not like we're opening right at resistance to where I say, hey, that's your line in the sand. If you open and top on out, let's play puts at the start of the day. Or if you break and hold that level, let's get calls. We're right in the middle, and right now it's a coin toss on what direction the SPY is going to go. Is it going to fade on down to support, or is it going to push on up into resistance? I have no idea. How long is it going to take? Is it going to take 2 hours like it took yesterday? Again, I have no idea. So based on my assessment, my analysis, and getting prepared with the SPY, I realized I probably shouldn't put all my focus on the SPY today, right? Especially not right at the start of the day if I see better opportunity. And I do see better opportunity. I see opportunity with Tesla, with Amazon, with AMD, right at the start of the day. They're sitting at some key make or break levels, and that's where I think the opportunity is going to be, at least for me. All right, guys, so we'll dive into that here in a moment. And this is kind of the same breakdown I gave you guys yesterday during the session. I said, hey, I don't really see anything with the SPY. It's in the zone of uncertainty. But I said I like the Qs a little bit better. And there was a couple of reasons why I liked the Qs. We were sitting at resistance. It was a 38.2 fib extension, and it was that downtrend off these highs yesterday. So what did I say? I don't really like the SPY based on how it's developing, based on its location, but I like the Qs a lot better, and here's why. Because I see 3 separate reasons to be getting involved in a trade right at the start of the day. What did we do? We put our focus on the Qs. What happened? QQQ pushed up into our zone beautifully and dropped 2 points to the downside. We took that trade. It was a profitable trade within the first 15 minutes of the day. I knew where to put my focus, right? How do I know where to put my focus? It just comes down to getting prepared. You will see opportunity or you will not see opportunity. Today, for example, the SPY. I'm not really seeing opportunity right now. Why would I want to put my focus there? Okay, do I see opportunity with the Qs? I actually do. Maybe I want to put my focus here on QQQ compared to the SPY, especially at the start of the day. So what's a key area that I'm watching here on the Qs today? Well, we actually have this daily zone of support between 366.39 and 366.62. That is a make or break here for the Qs, guys. Again, that daily zone, if I can get my my finger to work correctly. I'm not trying to draw lines. I'm just trying to move my chart. So that key zone is going to be right there between 366.39 and 366.62. And I do like this zone for a couple of reasons, right? Number one, I start with yesterday's low of day and yesterday's open, right? Prior day, lows of day, closes, highs. Those are going to be levels of support resistance the following day. But then I want to look left and see, do we get validation off this zone multiple times? Well, we do. We have this gap up open. Okay, we have this gap up open and low of day before that explosive move to the upside. So we can see right here, and we can even bring this level out to the left a little bit more and see that it connects several times, right? It is definitely a valid point, right? We can keep bringing it back and just see how many times we validated this level as a high a day before a strong rejection, right? As resistance, as our gap up open. Here's our gap up open and low of day as well, right? Then we have our close from last Monday. And then it all comes back down and connects with where our starting point was. Just literally looking at yesterday's low of day and open. Because we know that the prior day low of day and open, high day and close will be areas of support resistance the following day, right? But it even validates those levels more when you have multiple touch points in the past, especially key significant areas when you're going back. And so gap up opens, gap up low of days, right? Those are going to be significant points in the past. And you can see that we've hit this area several times and we've respected it several times. So that's going to be a key area for me today here on the Qs, right? If we can stay above that zone, 366.39 to 366.62, we do have some potential back up into yesterday's highs of day, right? We could definitely see the Qs get back up towards around 370 today, all right? But if we open on up, fall below that zone of support, and we see it hitting today and holding below that level as intraday resistance, then we have potential to see QQQ fade and fall down into our next lower zone of support. That's going to be down between 363.88 and 364.46. That would be the next area to the downside that we can see QQQ get to. Okay, so my line in the sand today, right at the start of the day here on the Qs, is this zone between 366.39 and 366.62 here on the Qs. Okay, that's the make or break. If we hold above that zone, we have good price action, we see aggressive buyers presence, then we could look to take this long back up into the high 369s, right around 370. But if we do not see aggressive buyers at this area, we see more aggressive sellers, I would literally just be looking for this zone to crack, see it come back up and retest that area as intraday resistance. Again, read the order flow, look at price action. Do we see aggressive sellers present and passive buyers at this area? If so, that's when I start thinking about playing puts for the next leg down into the low 364s here on QQQ. So that's the make or break. That's the line in the sand. That's the area that I'm watching. I'll be watching price action, volume. I'll be reading order flow to see who's in control, buyers or sellers. What is the highest probability outcome, right? Based on who's in control and based on, what we see at that point in time. So taking a look at the SPY, breaking it down, right? Starting with the daily, identifying our key daily areas and key daily zones of support and resistance, and then looking at the SPY, doing the same thing. Key daily zones of support resistance. Which one do you think has the better odds of really moving today? Which one looks a little bit better, right? QQQ or the SPY? I'm going with the Qs for the reasons we discussed. But I'm not saying the SPY doesn't look good. I'm not saying the SPY looks terrible. I'm just saying that the Qs are sitting at a more significant zone of support, okay? Based on all those touch points we have. Now, we can go in and say, you know what? Well, the SPY, Josh, is also sitting at yesterday's low of day and yesterday's close. You wouldn't be wrong. You're correct, right? But we have more validation on the Qs at that zone than the SPY has validation at the zone, all right? But if you still want to watch the SPY off yesterday's low of day and yesterday's close and have that be your line in the sand, that's A-okay. I just prefer the Qs based on that zone being validated more times in the past with more significant points than just the SPY being yesterday's low of day and yesterday's open. I hope that makes sense. Why I'm choosing the Qs and that line in the sand zone over the SPY, just based on that zone being a little bit more valid and more significant in my opinion based on my analysis. All right, but same thing with the SPY. You could be looking at the SPY down into yesterday's low of day, yesterday's open, and that be your make or break. Right? If the SPY holds that zone on up, then you could see it push back into yesterday's highs, okay? Back up towards around 437. But if we see the SPY open on up and fall below that zone, same analysis, same plane as the Qs, push back up and stay below it as intraday resistance, that's when we could look to see the SPY fade and fall down towards around this next lower zone of support, which is going to be between 431.13 and 431.49 here on the SPY. All right, so let's go ahead and do this and sum it up. I'm going to give you the line in the sand on the SPY too. It's not as significant as the Qs. I've explained that. Hopefully it makes sense. But your light line in the sand, what do we call that? We call the line in the sand the lits. This is going to be the lits because it's your lighter area line in the sand. That's going to be this zone right here, 433.57 to 433.83. Okay, if we can hold above it, we can see nice little push. You can play calls. If we fall below it, stay below it, you could look for some puts for the next leg down. But personally, I will be watching the Qs off this zone between 366.39 and 366.62. That's my make or break for the Qs based on everything we discussed. We hold above it today. see aggressive buyers present, I'll look to play calls back up into these highs from yesterday. That's going to be right around 370. We fall below it, stay below it. We see more aggressive sellers. I look to play puts down into the low 364s. And it all comes down to that zone right here on QQQ. All right. So before we move on to AMD and Amazon, and I give you guys my game plans and the analysis on those two plays, do we have any questions whatsoever regarding the game plans, the analysis, the overview here with the SPY or the Qs? If you have any questions, drop those inside of chat, drop those over in YouTube, and we will get those answered for you. Catherine, good morning, you big, beautiful traders. Well, good morning to you, Catherine. I love it. Every day we're slowly increasing how many viewers we have on the pre-market rundown. I love it. Last week we had 20, then 30, yesterday 40. Now we got 54 beautiful men and women, amazing traders over on YouTube right now joining us for the pre-market rundown. So thank you guys so much for being here. If you want to share your support, it really means a lot. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and make sure you attend these sessions every single morning when you can from 8:30 to 9:30. And then like this stream as well. And then leave a comment. It really helps out. And again, do that if you appreciate these streams, if you find value in these streams. And that's one little thing that you guys can do to help support these streams. But welcome. Happy to have you here. And little by little, we see more and more traders coming into the mornings, getting prepared, getting the breakdowns, the game plans, the analysis, all that good stuff. So absolutely love it. So any questions regarding the SPY or the Qs right now at this point in time before we dive into AMD and Amazon? Let me know. We all good? All right, so let's talk about okay. Well, this is going to definitely get me interested in AMD. AMD goes bloop, coming on down, and I hear you guys talking about NVIDIA as well. Is NVIDIA starting to drop on off here? It is. What's going on with AMD? Obviously, you got NVIDIA. I'm sure Microsoft is probably pulling as well. Pulling back a little bit here, but you see a lot more with AMD and NVIDIA. So what had the press release? What had the catalyst? Was it NVIDIA? Was it AMD? Let's see. U.S. tightens curb on AI chip exports to China, widening the rift with U.S. business. So you got U.S. tightening curbs on AI chip exports. That's obviously going to be impacting stocks like NVIDIA, stocks like AMD. I'm sure, you know, I wouldn't say AI is going to be dropping on off, but you see it kind of pulling a little bit here to a certain extent, kind of some sympathy movement to the downside, but nothing crazy. But this is good for AMD because I was actually watching AMD for a crack of this trend line, right? You go into the daily time frame here on AMD, there's a couple key areas that I was watching. Number one, we have this daily uptrend that we've been bouncing off of. Number two, we have this key zone of prior resistance, prior support. We've hit it, gotten rejected. We broke it, retested it. So we have a key area of support. That zone was between 104.76 and 105. 105 is also a psychological level of support. So we have the uptrend, we have daily zone of support, right? We have psychological support at 105, right? And we also have those two moving averages trying to hold a support as well, the 20 and the 50. That gives me 3 to 4 separate things that I notice that says, hey, we have a lot of great support here. We have that uptrend. We have those moving averages. We have 105 psychological support, and we have this daily zone of support as well. That was my make or break today with AMD, right? So what are we doing? We're cracking below that trend line, right? I was wanting to get kind of short today if we crack this trend line intraday. Where to? That key zone of support. If we ever crack below that key zone of support, retest it, we could see AMD move much lower. Well, what are we starting to see here in pre-market, guys? We are starting to crack that daily uptrend that we see here, right? We are starting to come through We're starting to crack this uptrend. We're also coming down below that key zone of daily support. So now we've went from the bullish side to the bearish side of the trend line. We've cracked the trend line. Now we've cracked below 3 significant levels of support. Now we can see that zone turn into intraday resistance. And that's exactly how I'm looking to play AMD today. I would like to see AMD open, push on up into that daily zone, right? That was support that we can now see AMD stay below as intraday resistance, okay? And see a nice retest. And then take a step back and say, hey, is there a reason to get short? What does the price action look like? What does the volume look like? Read the order flow. Do we have aggressive buyers stepping in? Or do we have aggressive sellers stepping in, right? And at that point in time, make a good decision whether or not to get short. If we have a reason to get short, that's an area where I would love to be getting short today here on AMD. How low could we see AMD go? I see potential all the way back down into the low 100s. So we do have this lower zone of daily support between $99.62 and $100.88. So the low 100s, that's going to be the next main area of support here for AMD. So that means there's potentially 5 points of downside today here with AMD. We can see that this is going to be a potential low risk, high reward trade, right? And all we're literally waiting for is for the market to open, AMD push back up into that zone, stay below it as resistance. If we have reason to get short as close to this zone of resistance as possible, stops over that zone, and we know that we have potential to see AMD fade and fall all the way down into the low 100s. That's potentially 5 points of reward, and you could safely get away with like 50 cents of risk. Shoot, you can go $1 of risk and really let this thing breathe, and you still have a 5-to-1 setup. So I like AMD a lot, right? I don't like how it's prematurely moving. And I don't say premature, but I don't like how it's already cracking the trend line in pre-market because I was looking for that trade today once we opened. But it's okay, right? We cracked the trend line. That's bearish. We're falling below all of that support. Now we can see AMD stay below all of that support as intraday resistance and see the next leg down. Still great opportunity today with AMD. So I want to be keeping this one on high watch. Catherine saying AMD, I like it. Catherine, I'm liking AMD as well. It looks pretty decent, and there's a lot of great potential to see this thing move today. So I'll be putting a lot of my focus today here on AMD. All right, and then Amazon, I was watching Amazon as well, but honestly, the more I look at AMD, the more I don't even want to watch Amazon, right? It's like AMD looked good in pre-market. Amazon looked good in pre-market. I had 2 stocks on watch, just looking to see which one set up, which one gave me an opportunity to take a trade, but we can clearly see that's going to be AMD today. AMD looks phenomenal. Compare Amazon to AMD, Amazon subpar. So I don't even want to waste your time talking about Amazon because honestly, I'm not even going to be watching Amazon myself. I see better opportunity just putting a lot of my focus today on AMD and then putting a lot of my focus here on the Qs and then potentially the SPY as well. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and just completely open up the floor and let's do some stock reviews for you guys, right? If there's any stocks that you guys have on your watch list, whether that be penny stocks, whether that be large cap for options, go ahead and type up your ticker. Let's go ahead and review those stocks and get you guys prepared for the day. It's a very simple day for me, right? I'm watching the Qs primarily, followed by the SPY. I'm watching AMD. You guys have the full breakdown, the full game plan, and as far as what are my expectations, what am I looking to see take place to take some trades today. Okay, I got 3 great quality opportunities in front of me. I'm going to put all of my focus on those 3 and not distract myself, not overwhelm myself, not have 10 stocks that I think can move. I have 3 solid opportunities. My focus goes on those 3 for today. So what are you guys looking at? What do you guys need some help with? Let's go ahead and review some of those stocks that are on your watch list and make sure we get you guys prepared for today. Mr. William taking a look at BA. Let's take a look at Boeing and see what we got going on here. I do like it at first glance. You know me, I'm a first glance type of guy. If I look at a stock on the daily and I don't see anything at first glance, I tend to not do any due diligence on it. I just don't see anything. But at first glance, I do like BA. We have that daily gap between 187.33 and 189.96. And we have a lot of this lower daily support down here between 182.55 and 183.17. So we can see we have great daily support. We can see that we have this overhead gap that could get filled. And as long as we hold that lower zone of daily support, very, very possible that we see, that next leg on up to at least come through and possibly fill that gap. So we have key daily support. We know we could see BA at some point come through and fill that gap back up towards around the 190s. But let's go ahead and dive right into a 5-minute time frame and really see what we got going on today. So BA is going to be opening near all of that daily support. So that would be the game plan, man, is wait for BA to open, let it come down into that lower zone and just see what happens, right? If we come on down and we're putting in some market structure and we have good price action and we see aggressive buying taking place, that would be a beautiful low risk, high reward area to think about getting involved, right? If you get in as close to that zone as possible or right inside that zone as it's setting up, as it's developing and looking good, you put stops right below that zone. And we already know we have great potential to see BA get all the way back up to the lower end of that daily gap, which is 187.35. That gives you nearly a 5-to-1 setup. If we see BA actually come up and close that gap, which is very realistic, right? That would be a 7-to-1 opportunity. But at least into your first realistic target, nearly a 5-to-1, right? Low risk, high reward, and we can clearly see that this is going to be a very good zone and a very strong zone of daily support, right? That's going to be your make or break for BA today. If you can hold above that zone and there's a solid reason to get long with stops right below that zone. But if we ever see BA come below that zone, back into it, and we see now that it's turned into resistance, well, we definitely don't want to be playing calls whatsoever. We want to be looking to play some puts for that potential next leg down. So that's the question is, okay, if we see that level crack, if we retest it as resistance, okay, how much lower could we really go? Is there that much more room to the downside here on BA? Well, let's go right back into the daily time frame and get an idea of, hey, could we see another big drop on off? Is there a lot of room to fade and fall here on BA? I'm seeing like 180, and I'm just coming back here and starting off a lot of these daily highs that we had. We had tons of resistance there, and it was also the gap up open, turn support before that big push on through, big push on up. Then we'll just take that zone, we'll just keep running it out to the right and just say, hey, is this a valid area, right? I identified it way back here when we had tons of resistance and we see it tried to hold the support. I know we dropped a little bit lower here, but overall, that was an area that we were trying to hold on up, right? We didn't just gap up and then come back down. That was an area that we tried to establish some daily support off of, and we did. And we had a nice big explosive move to the upside. So that's going to be a decent area. Coming back here, we can see that there was a lot of resistance, turn support. So that's probably going to be the next lower area that we can come down to. So, I mean, it's a pretty choppy daily chart as well. There's not any clear areas that just really stand out. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove that level altogether, and I'm going to add a midpoint. And that midpoint in that level that we just identified was right at 180. So I would just say, hey, somewhere in that zone that we identified, and the midpoint of that zone is 180. And what's 180? 180 is psychological support. So that's what I would say, is if BA were to fall below that zone and we see it turn into resistance near 183, we could potentially see the next leg down into the low 180s here on BA. All right, but if we hold that zone on up and we see it's turning into really good support, we could definitely see buyers step back in and potentially today into tomorrow start to see that daily gap get filled there on BA. So a couple of different ways to look at it, a couple of different opportunities that we see, but I would say it's definitely worth watching. TF, good morning. It's T-Man from the Tiki Taki. What's up, brother, man? We got a request for Tesla. Let's go take a look at Tesla real quick. Tesla's nothing that's on my watch list. I'm just not really digging where it's at here on Tesla. So all I did with Tesla, to keep it super simple, I went through and marked up yesterday's low of day and open, and then yesterday's high and close. And that gives us two zones. Lower zone between 248.45 and 249.94. That's off yesterday's low of day and yesterday's open. And then we go up into yesterday's close and yesterday's high of day. That zone is between 254 and 255.48 here on Tesla. And we can see that we're just right in the middle of those two zones. So right now, I'm hands off. We're in the zone of uncertainty. We don't know where Tesla's going to go. But if Tesla opens, drops on down into that zone of support and holds, right, you could look to play calls back up into yesterday's high of day and yesterday's close. That's when you would look to play calls, okay, if we can come on down and hold that lower zone of support on up, right? But what if we come on down and we crack that lower zone and we look to be fading and falling a little bit more? How much lower could we see Tesla go? I would say Tesla has a lot of great potential back into this daily uptrend, right? You can all see that we have this trend line that starts early this year, connects here in April, connects here in May, connects here in August, and just connected here in September as well. So that would be the next area to the downside that I would think that Tesla could get to prior to seeing the possible next leg on up. So where is that trend line at? That trend line right now is actually down around like 244.40-ish. So down around like this 244 region is where the trend line is currently sitting. So if we do crack below that zone and we see it turn into resistance right around 249 to 250, that's when we could see Tesla get down towards around 244 to 245 into that daily uptrend, number one. Okay, number two, not only would it be that daily uptrend, but it would also be very, very close to this daily zone of support. And that daily zone of support is between 242.66 to 244.42. So you can see that you have some confluence right off that daily uptrend, right around the mid 244s, and then the top end of that support zone is the mid 244s. So that makes a lot of sense. If we see Tesla cracking this zone, again, that zone's between 284.45 and 249.94. We see that zone crack. We stay below it, right? We start rolling on over. Sellers start stepping on in. Where can we see Tesla come down to? That multi-month uptrend as well as that daily zone of support. That'll put you somewhere around the mid 244s, okay? But again, if we hold that zone on up, then we know Tesla has potential to see a nice bounce back up towards around 254 to 255.48 there on Tesla. So we'll have to see what Tesla does, right? How it opens, where it goes, right? Because the other opportunity, the other plan would be if Tesla opens and breaks the overhead zone of resistance. Okay, if that takes place, wait for Tesla to pull back into that zone, hold a support, and then Tesla technically would have some potential back up towards around the high 259s. But we'll definitely keep it on watch and see what Tesla's going to be doing down at this lower zone of support. If we hold above it, you guys play calls on up. If we crack below it, stay below it, you're looking to play some puts on down into the mid 244s here on Tesla today. Mr. William, yeah, brother. Absolutely, man. AVTX. Let's look at AVTX. You got a key zone here between 21 and 22 cents. Then you're going to have another key zone up here between 28 and 29.5 cents. And then you're going to have some support. I wouldn't even call it support because I have no idea where the stock is. But you're going to have this zone right here between, what is that? 16.5 cents and 17.5 cents. So you got these three key daily zones, right? You got high of day, gap up, low of day. You got gap down, open, high of day rejection, high of day rejection. Yesterday's high day where we got rejected, that's 0.1681 to 0.1755. That's going to be that lower zone that we see here on AVTX. This zone right here between 21 and 22 cents. And then this next overhead zone between 28 and 29.5 cents here on AVTX. So where are we currently sitting at? We're still sitting below that zone. We're still sitting below that zone, which is 0.1681 to 0.1755. That's going to be an area that we would have to get above and stay above before AVTX is even in play. So if you ever see AVTX getting through that zone and seeing it turn into resistance, then you may be able to play that long back up into last Wednesday's high of day, which is about 18.5 cents. And then you have potential all the way up towards around 21 to 22 cents here on AVTX. But this would not even be in play to the long side until it breaks through that zone, holds that zone of support. Then I would start to consider maybe getting involved back up towards around 18.5 cents, last Wednesday's high a day, then potentially 21 to 22 cents on AVTX. But we have to get through that zone before we even consider playing this thing long. Yeah, so SPRC, it was just having a really hard time getting that break and hold above 7. And so all I was doing was waiting to see if SPRC could break this zone between 675 and 705. If we can come through and break that zone and hold that zone, I wanted to play it long above that zone. Well, we kept trying to break it, got rejected. Tried to break it, got rejected. Tried to break it, got rejected. Tried to break it, got rejected. We broke it, but we never pulled back into it for confirmation for me to get long. But yeah, SPRC, I mean, there is really good potential here with SPRC. I mean, this bad boy does have room all the way up towards around $9.48 here on SPRC. And what I would go ahead and do is just make a few fine-tune adjustments. Let's get that 634 out of the way. And where is this zone coming from? Obviously the daily, but it's that 758, 777. So that was not a daily zone. That was a prior zone. So I'm still watching this zone right here between 674 and 705, right? I think that's a good area to be looking to maybe catch this long if we can pull back into that zone. That was the gap up open and high a day before that massive drop on off. So if SPRC could potentially open on up, pull back into that lower zone and hold as support, I would consider getting long back up into these pre-market highs and then maybe into daily resistance right around 948 here on SPRC. Right, so SPRC is a very low float stock. It's 492,000 in float. And this morning there was a press release. It wasn't like an awesome, amazing press release, but it was pretty good. It's a nice low float stock. It's getting the hype. It's getting the attention. It's trading 5 million shares. Right, on average, it trades less than 500,000. So the relative volume is a 10. It's trading 10 times its average volume. It's a nice low float stock, and penny stock traders love low float plays. And there was a press release here today. So it says SPRC, Aegis Capital Corp, acted as exclusive placement agent on a $5 million private placement for SPRC. This stock is now up 185%. So I still would like to see SPRC open, pull back into that lower zone, hold a support, then consider playing this long up into those pre-market highs, then maybe up towards around $9.48 here on SPRC, guys. All right, so that's what I would be looking for because that's a key daily zone of support that I would feel confident playing long off of and throwing stops right below that support level. And so let's see how SPRC opens, right? We do have about 10 minutes until market open. And, yeah, we'll just see what we do if we come on down into that lower zone of support. But what if we don't, Josh? What if we don't come down into that lower zone of support? What if we hold this uptrend and rip off the trend line? Okay, well, keep that trend line on watch, right? If it comes on down into the trend line and it holds on up, you could look to play SPRC long off that uptrend, stops right below it, and you already know you have potential up towards around 948 there on SPRC. But let me just ask you guys a quick question before we dive into the day, right? What is stronger when it comes to support? What's a stronger support level? 0.3 of this uptrend from pre-market, or this daily zone between 674 and 705? Which area is much stronger, and which area has the highest probable outcome of actually coming to and seeing it bounce, seeing it hold on up? It's definitely going to be that daily zone. Okay, that daily zone carries more significance and more weight than this pre-market uptrend. That's not to say that the trend line can't hold, but it's not as strong as a support level, right, as that daily zone is. So you got to make sure you keep your stops really nice and tight, because if that trend line cracks, right, it could really crack. Last thing you want to do is be jumping in at 770 off that trend line and then watching it go all the way down to the 670s, and you've done nothing yet. Stops nice and tight under the trend line just in case it cracks, because there is potential to come all the way down into that lower zone of support before seeing it possibly bounce on back up. Okay, so if you're going to look for an entry off this slight pre-market uptrend, just please keep your stops nice and tight right below that trend line. I'm talking like 20, 25 cents is plenty, right? You have potential back up to those pre-market highs and then possibly $9.48 there on SPRC. So definitely potential with SPRC. I was watching GLUE, but yeah, I'm definitely not watching that. Was watching ASBM, but yeah, I'm definitely not watching that either. So yeah, I mean, small caps today, there's not an abundance of opportunity. I mean, there's some decent stuff moving, but there's definitely not an abundance. I'm still going to be watching TPST. This thing has been hot the past, week and a half. And then I will be watching PRZO, another back burner play. But right now, if you guys are watching penny stocks, it's SPRC, at least until it dies on off. But right now, I would say like 70 to 80% of the focus when penny stocks are here, what are they looking at? I would say 80% of the focus right now is going to be on SPRC. And so this is where the best of the best opportunity is going to be until it dies on off, if it even dies on off. So we'll keep SPRC on high watch. But you guys know me. I'm primarily watching the SPY here. I'm definitely focused on the Qs and absolutely focused here on AMD today, guys. All right, we got about, 7 minutes to go. We got enough time for one more review. What do we got going on? Yeah, that's TradingView. So we did AVTX, SPRC, Tesla. So pretty much hit everything on the head. The Qs, the SPY. So we're good, 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 good. Anybody else have a stock on their watch list that they need a second opinion on? They need some analysis to make sure that they are prepared. Go ahead and drop that inside of chat. I'm more than happy to dive into it. We do have about 6 minutes until market open, guys. RANI. Let's look at RANI real quick. This thing is gapping down about 23 cents. Had a nice little pop yesterday, but left this really big upper shadow. So you will have a lot of resistance between 220 and 224 here on RANI. And your next area of support down around like 189 to 190. But looking at this, I mean, it's just been straight downtrending, right? I mean, yeah, it'll pop on up, but then it moves lower. It'll pop on up, and then it moves lower. Pops on up, moves lower. A little bit of a pop on up, moving lower. Pop on up, strong upper shadow, right? Gapping down today. It's probably going to start moving on lower, right? You see that nice big push yesterday all the way to 275. It closes at 220, and right now it's trading back under $2, and it's sitting right at this daily support. And it's not even super substantial, strong daily support, right? Just like this wasn't super strong support. It was a light daily area of support, but we eventually just cracked right below it and moved lower, right? This area of support was just now recently established, right? It's an okay level, but it's not a substantial level because it was just recently established. Just like this level right here. It was an okay level, but it's not a significant level because it was just recently established. That's why it was easy to see the stock move through and continue its downtrend, just like this lower zone that we just discussed. All right, it's a short-term zone. It was just established, and overall, sellers are in control of the stock. It's very possible that we see RANI continue this downtrend, easily move lower through that zone, and continue to fade and fall. So I don't know what you're looking at here on RANI. If you're looking to get long, if you're looking to get short, if you're in this, I have no idea. But what I would say is it doesn't look good. The simple fact that we left such a large upper shadow yesterday, and we see the stock actually gapping down, and it looks like we're actually down a little bit. Yeah, we're actually down below yesterday's open as well. That looks really weak, and that leads me to believe that we could see possibly some of the selling momentum continue from yesterday through pre-market, which we're seeing, into today, and it's possible that we start to see our next leg on down. That's what it looks like to me, right? I'm not in this. I'm not long. I'm not sure. I bring no bias to the table. I'm just giving it to you how it is, right? So do you have any questions about RANI? Yeah, guys, I do have tons of fake accounts pretending to be us, spamming people, 100%. It's nothing new. Been happening for 3 years. So it's the same spiel I give all the time. We got one TikTok account, the real Josh Howerton. We got our one YouTube account right here. And then all of our socials, we don't have one account. So I will let you guys know, and I will make it public when we do open up a, say, second account. Like when we open up an account specifically for alpha day trading again, I'll let you guys know, hey, we have one alpha day trading account, and then I have my account right here, right? If there's any other account trying to follow you, it's fake. It's spam. If they reach out to you, absolutely, I reach out to nobody. The only time I actually initiate a conversation is when someone reaches out to me. I do not reach out to anybody. So if someone's reaching out to you on an account saying, hey, this is Josh, it's fake. It's not me. Block them, report them, disregard. On NVIDIA, yeah, let's go look at NVIDIA. Literally, I mean, this is a sexy one, too. I mean, this is a simple-looking trade today. I mean, if we can stay below yesterday's low of day and open, also below the 20 EMA and the 50 SMA, I mean, NVIDIA's got great potential to fade and fall all the way back down towards around like 431 to 433. That's going to be the next key area of support here on NVIDIA, and we're still tanking right now. So key overhead resistance between 449.12 and 450.57. And your next key lower zone of support is down between 431.11 and 433.16. And those are your key areas. There's nothing really in between that stands out to me, right? Nothing in between those two zones. So it's a pretty large zone. It's a 20-point zone from support to resistance. 20 points is the difference between those two zones, which is pretty large, but you know, NVIDIA also moves 20 points with ease in a single day. So I would say, like, if you're looking for a possible bounce, you would not even want to get a bounce on NVIDIA until it's down at that lower zone between 431.11 and 433.16. If you want to get short, I still wouldn't want to get short until I saw it back up near this overhead zone of resistance, which is near 450. All right, so let's keep NVIDIA on watch as well, but AMD is looking pretty good, guys. All right, AMD is looking pretty good. So We are live. The market is open. Let's have an amazing day, guys. Let's trade smart, trade safe. As always, wait for the market to come to you, okay? Sit back. You're calm, cool, collected. Just take a nice deep breath, right? Settle. And just say, you know what? Market's open. Great. Is there going to be a great opportunity today to trade? I don't know. But if there is one, I'm going to get prepared. I'm going to build my plans. I'm going to get positioned correctly. I'm going to wait for confirmation to present itself on the trades, and then I'll simply attack. Until I see an opportunity, I'm just watching. I'm continuing my due diligence, right? Getting as prepared as possible, reading the market. How's the market moving? What does price action look like, right? So we can establish, right, our market assessment for the day. That's all we're really doing right now. We're very analytical. We're just analyzing, right? Taking in all this data so we can start making data-driven decisions on, hey, what do we want to trade? Why do we want to trade it? Where's the best opportunity? And then let's just go from there in a nice, calm, cool, collected way, guys. And the opportunities will come to us, right? Those trades will present themselves. We don't know when they'll present themselves, but they will. And we have to be patient and, again, wait for the market to come to us. The only thing that we even see out of the gate as far as a trade is the SPY below yesterday's low of day. And yesterday's open, that's going to be intraday resistance. So if we fail to break above that zone, we could see the next leg down. Same thing with QQQ. We have that zone of overhead resistance, yesterday's low of day and open. If we push on up into it, fail to break higher, we can start to see the next leg down. Those are the only two things that I'm seeing right now at this point in time. The SPY and the Qs to push on up into yesterday's low of day and open, get rejected, flip red today, and then start to fade and fall. Same thing with QQQ. Come on up and close this gap, right? We're gapping down. Come up and close the gap into yesterday's low of day, into yesterday's open. Close that gap, get rejected, flip red, and then start to fade and fall into your next lower levels of support. The only things that I'm seeing right now at the start of the day, okay? AMD with a big gap down. I want to see the same thing with AMD. Push on back up. Close this gap into its 20 EMA, get rejected, then start to roll on back over. So AMD's got some time before we even see anything set up. And NVIDIA has definitely got a lot of time before we see anything even set up in the first place. But I will be watching SPRC here, because SPRC is slowly coming on down into that lower zone of support. And just so you guys can see, I'm completely flat on the day. No futures trades, no equity trades, nothing. I am flat, did not see anything stand out to me here in pre-market. So I am flat on the day. The only thing that I see coming on up could be SPRC down here in this lower zone of support. If we hold on up, we already know this is a top gaining penny stock, has a lot of focus, and there's a lot of traders watching it. Right? It's very easy to see the stock come on down and potentially get a nice big rip to the upside. So let's keep SPRC on watch. Meanwhile, we're just waiting for the SPY and the Qs to get up into yesterday's low of day and close, fill the gap, get rejected, and then start to roll on over. If that's what we see take place, we already know we have some puts potentially right around the corner here. All right, guys, so take care. Man, we can't even see the charts. So, yeah, I mean, maybe we need you need a bigger screen, maybe. Obviously, the format's a lot better on desktop. If you're on a phone, then obviously the chart's a little small, but at least it gives you the visual representation of what we're discussing. You can't see the prices, but you can see everything else. You can't see the scanners, but that's the point. But you can see the charts. You can see the visual representations. I give you the levels. And that's what we do here for the pre-market rundown. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's session. Take care. Stay blessed. Trade smart, trade safe. And we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 8:30. Take care, guys, and have a good one. Traders inside of chat, let's rock. Let's start making some cheddar today, baby. Let's start making some cheddar. How we all feeling? You got Anthony Fonz. You got we're going to call you Mr. Liquidity. What's up? Matt's in the house. Stir. Zach, what's up, everybody?